But whatever time you're spending in this TikTok live session, I tell you, you're never going to regret having having to stay. You're never going to regret that time. The little time you're spending here, you're never going to regret it. I tell you, because you're going to become a better person. When you stay a bit and you listen to what we have to say, you'll become a better person. My name is Dapsy. You're welcome on board. So today, we'll be talking about identity and self-worth. Identity and self-worth. What is identity? What is identity here? Because we need to come to a unified understanding as to the word identity. What is identity? If a word just comes to you and say identity, what do you mean? What does identity means? Identity, I state here that is what you represent in all ramifications. What you represent is your identity. Whatever you represent, it could be in form of your values, what you value. It could be in form of your ethics, your conduct. It could be in form of your norms. It could be in form of your skill. It could be in form of your behavior, your likes, your dislikes. In general, your way of life. This is your identity. We are talking about identity and self-worth, and I'm just trying to define what an identity means, so that we can be on page. All of us can be on page. As I said, identity is what you represent in all ramification. What you represent in all ramification. And I said it could be in form of your values, what you value. It could be in form of your ethics, your conduct. It could be in form of your morals. It could be in form of your skill. It could be in form of your culture, your behavior, your likes, your dislikes, in total, your lifestyle. Yes. Your way of life. Yes. So this is identity, what you represent in all ramification. I love you, BTS. Thank you for joining Oluwatoyin. Thank you for joining Jim 3. Thank you for joining. I see you all. It's a TikTok, a leadership and human development TikTok live session aimed at helping people to live a life of purpose, a life of victory, and a life of fulfillment. My name is Dapsy. You're welcome on board. So we're discussing identity and self-worth. Identity and self-worth. So I said, now, what is self-worth? We have defined what identity means. Identity means what you represent, whatever thing, in your skill, in your value, in your ethics, in your moral, in your conduct, whatever thing, your culture, that is an identity, is your identity. Then we talk about self-worth. What is your self-worth? Self-worth is a confident sense of value. Self-worth means a confident sense of value. That's your self-worth. Whatever your value is from your own perception, that is your self-worth. Whether you see it as something valuable or whether you see yourself as something undervalued, whatever the case it is, that is your self-worth. It is you that self-worth yourself. Nobody else self-worth you outside of your own self-worthing. You self-worth yourself. It is how you self-worth yourself. Permit me to use that word. It is how you self-worth yourself that people will perceive and receive you that way. So I define self-worth as your confident sense of value. It's as simple as that. We don't have to, just, walk around like any which way. Self-worth is simply your confident sense of value. Whether your confidence is very low, whether your confidence is high, whether your confidence is at medium, it is self-worth. Thank you very much, Oluwatoyin. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate. Lovey8, thank you for joining. We are talking about identity and self-worth. So we are saying self-worth is simply your confident sense of value. That is self-worth. And I state here that one of the major challenge we have in our society today, is an identity crisis. Or let me use the word identity. You see, as simple as that word sounds, if you do not have an understanding of this word identity, if you don't have it, it will tell, and you can't hide it. You can't hide your identity. It's unhidden. You can't hide it. It's impossible. Yes. So this word, pay attention to what we'll be talking about, what we'll be discussing today. Pay attention to it, because it will change. It can change your life for better. It has the potential if you pay attention. Hmm. Hmm. I said, as simple as it sounds, this identity has cost people a lot. It has cost some people a lot of strategic relationship. This identity, it has cost a lot of people important, gigantic relationship. Let me put it that way. And as a matter of fact, it has cost some people, sadly, their lives. Sadly, this identity, it has cost some people their lives. Yes, prematurely. Sorry to say that, but we just have to say the truth. As simple as it sounds, identity, if you do not have an understanding, a thorough understanding of your identity, it's something very dangerous, which we all are battling today. We are battling, because if we do not know who we are, if you do not have an identity, the society will frame one for us. Someone, somewhere will frame one for you. If you do not know who you are, if you are not, even if you know and you are not confident about it, something, somewhere, someone, somewhere will formulate an identity and sell you the identity, and you will receive it hook, line, and sinker, because you don't know who you are. So you have to pay attention. Even if it is just few minutes you'll be staying here on this live, just pay attention. I wrote here that it takes time to know oneself. Truly, it takes time to. Nobody was born knowing him or herself. Nobody was born knowing him or herself. We grow into that consciousness. We grow into that awareness, the knowledge of ourselves. So if you have not really identified yourself, if you have not really formed an identity over time, don't beat up yourself for that. Everyone was born naive. We were all born naive. So it takes time. Just know that fact, that it takes time to know yourself, honestly. So having this knowledge, I said that it takes time to find oneself. I said many factors could aid or prolong finding our identity. Yes, I said many factors. There are many factors could aid or prevent. It could aid it or prevent finding your identity. Yes, many factors. Among those factors are your home. The home. When I say home, I don't mean father, mother, and children. Whatever home means for you, I mean where you were born and who raised you. That's what I mean by home. Where you were born, whoever you were born onto, or wherever you were born, and who raised you. These are the things, or what raised you. These are the things that I mean by home. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean father, mother, children. No. Home is a very key factor that frames our identity. It frames up an identity inside of us through a mindset. It frames up our identity through what we see, through what we hear, through the norms. They are in form of seed and assumptions. And as a matter of fact, after some time, it begins to grow. It begins to formulate from seed. Then it begins to germinate into a giant oak tree and becomes a stronghold, a mindset that frames up our identity. You see that? Among so many factors that frame up our identity is home. Your home. When I mean home, when I say home, I mean when I say home, I mean where you were born and who raised you. Please, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Just give me a thumbs up. So, amongst those factors are home. Home is one of the factors that frame our identity. And I said here again, you're going to be able to finish this today. I'm just giving you a snippet. Apart from the home that frame our identity, another key factor away from home is our environment. That's a broader view of home. broader view, your neighborhood, your environment, what is acceptable, what's the social norm in that what is an unwritten, because there are unwritten or unofficial norms in our society. They are not written laws, but they are laws. I mean, they are principles that we follow in our society, in our environment. I don't want to use the word society, in our environment, in your neighborhood, where you grew up. Where you grew up, there are some social norms that are undocumented, they are unofficial, but they are potent, that we look and we see people, demonstrate it. We see people talk about those norms, and yet, you see, you begin to pick it up. You begin to pick it up as a seed. It starts from an assumption in form of seed, an assumption in form of seed, a belief system in form of seed, a belief in form of seed. Then all together, then they form an identity. They form an identity. But it starts from a mindset. My goodness, my goodness. First, I said home. The second, I said environment. Then number three, we said school, your institutions, the institutions. Institutions. These are the things. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ma. Institutions, your institutions, school institutions, apart from home, home, environments, then school. These are the things that frame our identity. So you get out from your home to your neighborhood, from your neighborhood, and you go to the school system. Everyone has passed through one school system or the other in a way. Yeah, you have passed through a school system or the other, whether formal school system or informal school system. This system is another culture entirely different from the one we have at home, different from the one we have in our neighborhood, in our environment. All of these also help to frame a mindset inside of you that forms our identity. Another one that I'm going to be talking about is friends and then personal experience, amongst many others. Friends and personal experience. All of these things, they frame an identity in us. And I wrote here that for a young chap who was born in a family friendly environment, such youngster have the high possibility of becoming a better person, because the person is raised and nurtured in a family friendly environment. Yes, in a family friendly that uphold morals, that uphold values, positive morals in the environment. All of these things, the young child picks it up. He or she picks it up, and then they become, whether consciously or unconsciously, intentionally or unintentionally, they become, an assumption inside that child. They become an assumption. From the assumption as a seed, then it becomes a belief system that forms a mindset. And through a mindset, an identity is formed. You see that? You see why we have to pay our attention. You see why we have to pay attention to homes, environment, that is your neighborhood, and schools. Yes, your home, environment, that's your neighborhood, and then schools, friends. All of these things are potent factors that help to frame an identity, which is a large crisis that we have in our world today. As a result of an identity crisis, you see, some people, they have been sold to who they are really not. They have been told who they are really not. And as a result of that, some persons, they have unfortunately cut short their lives. They have lost the reason. They have lost the sense of living. They don't have any reason to live, because they have been told so many lies that they have accepted as truth. They don't have any reason to live. That is why this session is set up to help humans, to help especially the youth, the teenagers, the young adults, and the adults, to help us to live a life of purpose, to live a life of victory, and to live a life of fulfillment. So stay tuned as we go on the ride. And I said that finding your identity, it takes time. It's never a one-off thing. It takes time. Finding your identity, it takes time. It's a progressive journey, that it is line upon line. It is page by page. It is chapter by chapter. As you're listening to me right now, an identity is formulating inside of you through a mindset. A mindset, through the words that is coming forth, a mindset is being formulated. That's, if you permit it, is being formulated inside of you. And as a result of that mindset that is formulated, an identity is framing up gradually. Identity is not formed at a time. It takes process. It is a progressive, and it's never ending. It's never ending. You formulate an identity as you grow. Your conviction deepens the more. When you are convinced about yourself, you are not convinced that you are not confused about you being a man or about you being a woman. You are not confused. You are not confused about it. You are convinced that I'm a man. I'm convinced that you are a woman. Yes, you are convinced that whether you're a man or a woman, you are convinced about, you are not in any doubt as to whether you are a man or whether you are a woman. You know, I'm just citing that as an example. So that is how identity grows. Nobody can talk you out of it. What you are sure of, you are sure of. It starts from a mindset. A mindset. So as you are listening to me, a mindset is formulated inside of you. And I said here that formulating an identity, it takes process, and usually from the beginning that identity is always hazy. It looks unclear. You don't know what is really formulating inside of you, because we all start from this naive standpoint, from this naivety. That's where we start. That's where we all start from. So it's the identity that you have is always, starts from this haziness. It's not clear. It's cloudy, but something is forming, something is formulating. Don't worry. It's just like the ore. You see, when a treasure is found in the earth, in the soil, it's not usually found in its purified form. It's found with a lot of debris, a lot of debris. So your identity, this also from the beginning, it starts with this debris. It is, surrounded with this debris like a cloud. It's not clear to you. Even you, it's not clear to you. Yes, that, don't worry, that's how it starts. But something is building. Something is building in your mindset as you are intentional about building your identity. Something is formulating. Something is even though it's not clear to you. Keep pushing. Keep pressing on. Keep pushing. Keep doing that diligence, the due diligence. Keep pressing on. Don't be relentless. Don't be relentful. Don't be weary. Keep on doing it. Something is formulating. Something is brewing. Even though you don't, it's just like the ore, like a mineral ore, like the rare earth metal. I cited an example. I did a video sometimes ago, like the rare earth metal. You don't find the rare earth metal in their purified state. They are always with this debris. They are always in this ore state. So it takes time. It takes a lot of work in terms of the breaking, the crushing, passing it through the solvent extraction, and all of these processes for them to become purified. The same way it is your identity. You might not have a clear understanding of what your identity is, but keep pressing, keep believing in yourself, keep believing in that mindset that frames up your identity. Keep building up that mindset. It's your mindset that determines your identity. Yes, it's your mindset. So when you keep building up your mindset, keep building it. It may be hazy. You might not understand what you're doing in the first place, just like the ore, mineral ore. But with time, everything begins to take shape. They begin to take shape. They begin to formulate. And then you look back at yourself, and then you now begin to become convinced about who you are, that nobody can talk you out of it. See, identity is very key in your life of purpose, in your life of victory, and your life of fulfillment. You must first identify who I am and be convinced about you that nobody can talk me out of it. There is nothing that can talk me out of this conviction that I have about my identity. It's a function of your mindset. It's a function of your mindset. What are we talking about? Identity and self-worth. Identity and self-worth. Categories of identity. We have two categories. I wrote here two categories of identity. We have your divine identity, and then we have earthly identity. You have two identities. Just two. You have one, your divine identity and earthly identity. Divine identity and two, earthly identity. That's so I'm going to discuss what the two, but I'm going to dwell more on the earthly identity. I'm not going to discuss more of the divine. I'm just going to be brief with that. But know that you have two categories of identity. One, divine identity. Two, earthly identity. Then when we talk about divine identity, that's the real identity, is a real identity that is not tangible. Divine, I'm talking about the divine identity now, is a real identity, but it is not tangible. That is, you can't hold, you can't touch that identity. You can't touch it. Is not tangible, it's intangible, but it's real. Such identity is real. Divine identity. And I said that from this divine identity is where every other identity comes. For example, your earthly identity. It is from this divine identity, that this earthly identity that we have today. I'm going to talk on that later on. That it is from this divine identity that your earthly identity, my earthly identity, comes from. It's from the basis, this divine, it forms the basis of every of our other identity that we have. Our divine identity forms the basis of every of our other identity that we have. It forms the basis. I wrote it that it is our identity before our identity. It is our identity before your divine identity is it's an identity before an identity. I said, although it cannot be touched, seen, nor quantified, but it is real. It cannot be touched. It cannot be touched. It cannot be held, nor seen, but it is real. It cannot be held. This identity, divine identity, it cannot be touched. It cannot be seen. It cannot be quantified, but it is real. Make no mistake to think this divine identity is a joke. It is real. You may not acknowledge it, but find a place in your heart to believe this that I'm telling you, that you have a divine identity, whether you believe it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. Know that you have a divine identity. It may not be, you may not be able to, it's intangible, but it is real. It is intangible, but it is real. I'm going to stop on that. I'm just going to stop there. Earthly identity. Now, this is where I'm going to dwell a bit now. This earthly identity, I divide it into four. Yes, into four. I classified it into four. Our earthly identity, I classified it into four. Number one, biological. Your biological earthly identity. This has to do with your bloodline. Everyone, say, okay, I'm from, I'm black, oh, I'm white, oh, I'm brown, oh, I'm colored, I'm this, whatever color, whatever, race you are from. That is a biological, it's a biological form of identity. It's a bloodline identity. It comes from the bloodline, our race. So we have Asian, we have the African, we have the white, the Caucasian, we have the Hispanic, we have, all forms, the Caribbeans, we have all form of race. That's your biological earthly identity. Your biological, You say you don't know what I'm talking about. Just listen, okay? Only me. Listen. Just be patient with me, okay? Be patient. Thank you for joining anyway. James, thank you for joining. So we're talking about identity. And I said you have two identity. We have two identity. That's the divine identity, and then we have earthly identity. I already talked about divine identity, which is the basis of every other identity. It is from your divine identity that every other identity comes from. Every other is from the basis. It is real, although it is not tangible. You can't touch it. You can't see it, but it is real. then that's divine identity. Now we talk about earthly identity, and I said I classify this earthly identity into four. One, we have biological, and this biological has to do with the bloodline, where we have different race. We have the white race, we have the black race, we have the Asian, we have the Hispanic, we have all forms. It's a function of our bloodline, biological. Yeah. And people, tend to, okay, say, oh, yeah, I'm from this. They want to identify with a particular race. This is all biological. It still has to do with the earth. It has to do with your earthly identity. So this is called biological earthly identity. So that's one. Then we have another. Uh, we have the geographical earthly identity. The geographical earthly identity. Pretty liar. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. We have geographical earthly identity. So this one has to do with uh, an identity of a shared culture within a territory. Yeah, an identity of a shared culture within a territory. This is a geographical earthly identity where people say, okay, I'm of this. Some people say I'm Arab culture. I have the Arab culture. We have the white culture. We have the English culture. We have the American culture. That's geographical. It's within a territory, shared culture within a territory. Yet, for example, we have the Irish culture, or we can say, let's say, Western culture is a shared identity within a territory. Geographical, I call it geographical earthly identity. So you identify based on the culture that is prevalent within a territory. Geographical, it is a culture that is prevalent within a territory. I believe you are getting what I'm trying to say. So where that's when people say, okay, we have this African culture, we have this Arab culture, we have this Asian culture. So people tend to identify with a culture, yeah, in one way or the other. We tend to identify, okay, I'm of the Western culture, or I am of the Asian culture. People pride in it, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Yeah. So that's geographical earthly identity. I'm talking about, what we are talking today is about identity and self-worth. Identity and self-worth. You see that? So we have another one. The third one, we talked about biological earthly identity, we have geographical earthly identity, and then we have sociological earthly identity. Sociological earthly identity. And this one is an identity that speaks of our social status. Social status. The proletariat, the bourgeoisie, the high class, and then the middle class, and the lower class. You see, in a society, there's always this, class status, social class status. The bourgeoisie, the proletariat, the high class, the middle, and then the lower class. It's just life. So you don't have to be sad about it. It's just life. There will always be class. You can't have a classless society. It's not possible. So there will always be people of, high class, people of the middle class, and people of the lower class. So people identify based on the class that you find yourself, based on the class, based on what your social status is, tends to group you into a class within a society. That's the truth. So we are talking about identity. And then this is earthly identity that I'm classifying into four groups now. Then the fourth one, I said faith-based earthly identity. Faith-based earthly identity. Some people will call it religious, like religious identity. Some people identify based on religion, but I don't want to talk about religion because I don't discuss religion here. So, but I call it faith-based earthly identity. Faith-based earthly identity. So people associate themselves based on a belief system, based on a belief system, a structured belief system, serving a supernatural God. So people identify based on that. So what's the essence of all of this classification? What I'm trying to say is that humans, as we are, we tend to, prioritize our earthly identity even beyond our divine identity, which is wrong. We are so much concerned about our earthly identity, and this thing has caused a lot of disparity, a lot of dichotomy amongst human. We tend to forget because of this disparity in identity, earthly identity, based on your biological, your race, your geographical, your culture, based on sociological status, identity, and then your faith-based identity. This four has caused a lot of dichotomy, a lot of disparity amongst human, that we tend to forget that there is something that is common to every one of us: humanity. We are all humans first before we begin to form all forms of differences, all forms of diversity here on earth. We are all human. There is something that connects all of us together. There is something that unites all humans together. The first thing is that we are humans. So we have to come to terms with that we are humans. Whatever happens, whatever race you are, whatever faith-based institution you belong to, whatever sociological status you have, whatever geographical culture that you belong to, I want us to always remember that we are humans. This is a unifying factor, that we are all humans first before we form all this diverse and disparity within our cosmos, within our space here on earth. So that identity should not cause a dichotomy. Of course, we are diverse, but this diversity should be an advantage for us. It shouldn't be a disadvantage unto us. We should always remember in our diversity, in our differences, that there's something that is common to all of us. It's humanity. We are all humans. So do not let an identity, earthly identity, don't let it cause disparity. Don't let it cause chaos. Don't let it cause separation amongst us. We are all humans, white, black, colored, or whatever race, whatever ethnicity, we are humans. Identity. Your identity is very important. And I said that your identity is a function of a mindset. So I am imputing a mindset inside of you now, that you should deconstruct whatever mindset that may have informed inside of you, causing disparity, using your identity, your earthly identity, to cause a disparity amongst people here on earth. Do not use it. Instead, use that identity. I'm reconstructing a mindset inside of you for you to know that your identity, differences in identity in terms of your earthly identity, is an advantage. And see all humans as one. We are one. We are human. There is something that unifies us. We are one, humans. Not to look at it from a diverse or disparity or dichotomy standpoint. Bringing it together. We may be diverse, but we are one. We are all human. We are one. That's my message for you, using that identity as a topic, as our subject of discussion today. Identity. Your identity is very important. You have to build up the mindset that frames the right identity, that convinces you about who you are. Now, I said here that there are three structured fundamental institutions responsible for teaching and mentoring the society in the good way. There are three structured fundamental institutions responsible for teaching and mentoring the society in the good way. That is, there are three structured fundamental institutions that help to build an identity. These are three structured institutions amongst many others. I'm going to talk about others too, but just briefly. Three structured institutions. First is the family. I discussed this briefly while I was introducing the topic. Family is the number one institution that is responsible to build an identity of humans in our society, to help humans, to help us to frame an identity. The first institution is family. And when I say family, I don't mean father, mother, and children. I don't mean that. I mean where you were born and where you were raised and who did raise you. That's what I mean. Where you were born, where you were raised, and who raised you. That's what I mean by family. Because some people might not have that privilege. Family is very key. Where were you raised? What were the things that frame your assumptions in form of seed to form your mindset? What are the things that you saw? What are the things that you experienced? What are the things that you heard that framed a mindset inside of you in form of seed? And as a result, frame your identity. What are those things? Family is very key. Family is very key. Pay attention. That is why you see, sadly, a lot of things happening within that family. Family is the foundation. A lot of things happening within the family space. That's why you see a lot of things happening within the family space. It's not a coincidence. It's an orchestrated. It's a strategic target. Family is a strategic target because that's the foundation of an identity that is good, an identity that frame up a good society. Family is it. Yes. That's why you see this attack on families. You see a lot of things that are not something that someone is happy about, but we can't just we can't shy away from it. We have to say it. So many sad things about families, attack on family. So that is why you have to pay attention. If you are just forming a family, you have to pay attention to who you want to team up with to form a family. You have to pay attention to it. And if you already have a family, you have to pay the price to be that example that you want your children to be. Pay the price. You don't speak what you want. You do it, you become it. That is when you can overflow to others and they can look at you and then become what you have become. You become what you want to see. You don't talk what you want to see. You become it. That's the best way. So we must pay attention to the family. The family is the fundamental institution that builds up an identity, that builds a nation, that builds a society. Is the family. That is why we have to pay attention to it. So like I said earlier, I'll repeat it, that if you have not formed a family, if you are just starting up a family, know the person you're going to side with, you're going to team up with as your spouse. Be very discreet to that, because you are forming a society from that family. And if you already had a family, you have to sit down, pay the price to become who you would like to see in the society. To become it first. That's the best way. Number one, family. I'm talking about the three structured fundamental institutions that builds up a society in form of the identity. We are talking about identity and self-worth today. And I said family is number one. The three structured fundamental institutions responsible for teaching and mentoring the society in the good way, in terms of framing up their mindset to form an identity, is the family. Number two is the school system. Thank you for joining, Sophie. Thank you for joining. Bukola, thank you for joining. Number two is school system. Away from the family, away from the neighborhood, away from the environment. You go to the school, any school system, any formal school system, you stay there. It's another culture entirely. There are assumptions in that space. Yes, there are mores, there are values in that space, the school system, whether it's a formal school system or an informal school system, it's something. Assumptions are coming in, beliefs are coming in form of seed inside of your mind, and they are framing up something, they are building up gradually to form a mindset. And as a result of that mindset, an identity comes out of it. School system. So away from the family, we pay attention to the school system, whether the school system is formal or informal. We pay a rapt attention, because these are the things, the fundamental that frame up our society. Then the third one is a faith-based institution. If you are lucky to be part of any faith-based institution, then is another place that Methodically, people are built, people are mentored, like I am doing right now. It's one of what I'm doing right now to help you find your identity, to help you deconstruct whatever mindset you had already that is leading to destruction, that is leading to a loss of sense of purpose, for you to deconstruct such mindset and then to embrace a new mindset that will help you to build a progressive, purposeful, victorious, and then fulfilling mindset that helps you live such life. Yes, it produces a mindset that frames up your identity. This is what I'm doing. The school, the faith-based system. So if you're lucky enough to be part of any faith-based system that teach this truth, that help you to find your true identity, then is another institution that we look into. The faith-based institution. So away from these three structured institutions, there's another institution in this new age that we have, in our digital world that we have today. There's an institution that we cannot overlook, that is already a part of our society now, that we have to come to terms with, and that is the technology, the social media in the technology world. The social media, this virtual environment is a virtual society, is true and is real. This virtual society is real. You see why you have to pay attention. This virtual society has framed more identity than in the past 10, 20 years. This virtual society, that is technology, social media, has framed more lives in the past 10 years than family, faith, whatever, school. I'm just speaking from my own perspective. I don't have any statistics, but I just know that this social media, the technology world, the virtual society has framed, in the last 10 years, has framed more identity than the school and the family combined together. It has framed more identity than this family and the school combined. So that is why we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention. Hi, Sean. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for coming. So as I was talking about the technology part, the technology has framed more identity. That is the social media. The social media world has framed more identity than the family has done in the past 10 years, than the school system years. So you have to pay attention to technology, the social media, because the potency of the social media is because it's private. You can access social media privately without anybody. So it frames an identity, it frames a mindset inside of us. And as a result, it frames an identity come out of it. So we have to pay attention to the social media. So many things, so many persons, they are just coming up with so many ideas. Anybody can just pick up the phone and then use the social media and then frame an identity for some group of people. So you must be very discreet as to what you pay attention to, what you listen to on the social media. You must garrison your heart. You must guard yourself. You must be intentional about what you want to consume, the content you want to consume on social media. Because this social media, in terms of technology, not just social media, technology, the digital world that we have today has framed a lot of identity more than family, more than school system has done in the past 10 years. And in that addition to that, we have environment, we have your neighborhood, the culture around the neighborhood, the environment. All of these shape our mindset, and then from the mindset come an identity. So I'm going to recap the summary of what we've been discussing in the last 49 minutes. In the last 49 minutes, I'll be talking on identity and self-worth. I define identity as is what you represent in all ramification. Identity is what you represent in all ramification. Yes, and I say self-worth is your confident sense of value. your confidence, sense of value. Identity is what you represent, and what you represent could be in form of your value. It could be in form of your morals. It could be in form of your culture. It could be in form of your skill. It could be in form of your likes and your dislikes, your lifestyle in general. This is what we call your identity. You have an identity that you portray, whether you are aware of it or not. You have an identity that you portray. You see that? And I say self-worth is a function of an identity. Self-worth is your confidence, sense of value, and is a function of an identity. And then we talked about how is an identity framed. How is an identity formed? So it's not far-fetched. Framing an identity is not far-fetched. It comes from, first, we talked about family. It comes from family. It comes from your environment, your neighborhood. It comes from school system. It comes from the faith-based institution, and it comes from technology, social media. And I said that your identity is not framed at a one-off session. Identity is framed over time, and you may not understand what identity is framing inside of you, but if you are intentional and then you keep at doing your own due diligence, that is just like a metal ore in the earth. When you mine a metal ore in the earth, it's not usually purified. It comes out with its own debris. Yeah. So also is your identity. Sometimes you might not have a complete understanding of what your identity is, but with time you keep pressing, and at the time then the purified form of your identity comes forth out of that unpurified identity that you have. So it's not a one-off system. It's it keeps on growing, it keeps on formulating. Your identity keeps on formulating gradually. You see, that's what we're talking about. And then we also talked about two categories of identity. Number one is divine identity and earthly identity. Divine identity and earthly identity. I said divine identity is your real identity, is a real identity and a virtual. Is a real identity and an intangible. That is, you can't touch it. You can't hold such identity, but it is real. It's intangible, but it's real. Divine identity. It is from this divine identity that every other identity comes from. Every other identity. It is the basis. It is the basis of every other identity. That's your divine identity. Whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you know about it or not. Find a place in your heart to believe what I'm talking to you about. That you have a divine identity. You have a divine identity. And number two, we said you have earthly identity. And I said I categorize this earthly identity into four. Number one, your biological earthly identity. That is what we all have today. We have the white race. We have this according to the bloodline. In relation to the bloodline, we have the white, we have the black, we have the colored, the Asian, the Arab, Caucasian, Africans, along the bloodline. And then we tend to, we are so serious about this, this earthly, biological earthly identity. And this thing has caused a lot of differences, a lot of dichotomy, a lot of separation amongst humans, which is not supposed to be. Biological earthly identity. And we said number two, the second classification is geographical earthly identity. What do I mean by geographical earthly identity? I mean, it speaks of groups. It speaks of an identity of a shared culture within a territory. An identity of a shared culture within the territory. For instance, the English culture, the Irish culture, the American culture, yes, the African culture, the Arab culture, the Asian culture. So this has to do with a geographical shared culture within a territory. Within a territory. So that's a geographical earthly identity. And then we have sociological earthly identity. That has to do with the class. The high class, the middle class, and the lower class. That is the proletariat, the bourgeoisie. You see? people's social status, according to your social status within the society. There will always be a class, but that shouldn't call for disparity. It shouldn't cause for chaos. It shouldn't cause for bitterness. There will always be class. We cannot have a classless society. So it's an identity within the society, sociological, earthly identity. And we talked about the fourth class of identity, earthly identity. That's faith-based earthly identity. That's for those who are identified with a faith-based institution. Whatever faith-based institution. Some call it religion, but I don't like to talk about religion. So it's a faith-based institution. So wherever you are identified, some are classified, they classify themselves based on their religion. Yeah. So it's an identity as well. So my point here, the bottom line here is that we should not, because of this earthly identity, now they cause disparity, cause separation. We should always look as humans. We are all, there's something that unifies all of us. There is one thing that unifies all of us. We have one identity, which is we are human. That's the first identity that we have before we begin to classify, differentiate into different, sects, groups, and all of that. The first thing is that we are humans. We are all humans. It's an identity that unifies all men, all women. You see that all human beings, we are all humans. Is the first identity. So we should not allow the four classified earthly identity to cause separation amongst us. The racial identity, the cultural identity, the ethnic group identity, the religious identity, the social status identity. It shouldn't cause separation amongst us. It should unify us. Diversity is not a disadvantage. Diversity is an advantage, if we can say it. So then we talked about the three fundamental institutions responsible for teaching and mentoring the society. And we said family is number one, the foundation. School is another institution. Then faith-based institution. And we have technology in our world today. Technology, social media, which is very potent. Like I said earlier, very potent and has framed a lot of identities, even more than family has done in the last 10 years. And the neighborhood. So I believe with this piece, I believe we have been able to pick one or two things that makes us a better person than we were before. And like I said, we become better by the day as we listen to something that is worthwhile, content, as we consume a content that is worthwhile, a content that transforms, then you become better by the day. You become better by the week. You become better by the year, page by page, chapter by chapter. You become better. You are formed. A better person is formed. Or to become and to live a life of purpose, to live a life of victory, to live a life of fulfillment. With this, life will be a better place to live. My name is Dapsy, and you are welcome. Thank you for joining this 60 minutes leadership and human development TikTok live session. It happens, it comes up every Friday, 6 p.m. local time, Irish local time, here in Dublin. So anywhere you're watching us from, I really appreciate for joining. Thank you very much. My name again is Dapsy, and thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. See you next week, same time, next Friday, same time, Irish time. See you same time, Irish time, next Friday, 6 p.m. local Irish time. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I remain yours sincerely, Dapsy. Cheers.